Hello everyone and welcome to my Wild Rift tier list for patch 6.1f, the final patch of the 6.1 cycle. We only have about a week and a half left now until patch 6.2 and also the brand new season. So this tier list is going to be for all the players that want to go for that last minute climb, the last week to try and get the rank that you deserve. There's not too many changes in this tier list because the patch notes were not that big compared to other patches in this cycle, but there is a few very important things to talk about, like the Ambessa rework, some changes that happened in recent patch notes that's moved some champions, and also some that said got buffed in the patch notes but actually didn't get changed in the game. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Callista. But yeah, anyway, let's head straight into it. First up, Baron Lane. Let's talk about Ambessa. The Ambessa rework has been absolutely disgusting. I think they hit the nail on the head with making sure that Ambessa can be more of a Baron Lane champion. I think she's a lot more viable now in the Baron Lane. However, she is also very, very OP in the jungle and actually the best jungler to play right now. So not only did they make Baron Lane Ambessa viable, but they also made jungle Ambessa also viable as well. She plays pretty much very differently to what she did before. Before was all about the reset mechanic. You could just use your abilities whenever you want to, even if you miss your abilities. If you get a kill because you dealt enough damage anyway, you're able to reset and still use that ability again. Now it's all about making sure you hit your abilities, especially your first ability does a lot more damage now. So being able to hit that, especially on the outer part of the first ability, is very important. You also have a lot more spell vamp as well, a lot more healing in your kit for survivability, but also a lot more damage with armor penetration on the ultimate as well. So instead of being this reset mechanic champion, she's now still the same sort of champion that she wants to dive into the backline, do a bunch of damage, but now she has a lot more survivability and she does a lot more upfront burst damage, but she doesn't have to reset. So sometimes when you use your abilities, you will be walking around auto attacking, but since your abilities will be doing so much damage, she'll be able to pretty much one shot anyone on the backline that you're able to catch out as well. So very, very strong champion. You can run Grasp in the Baron Lane. I think with Conqueror being buffed as well in this patch, Conqueror is also an option in the Baron Lane, and of course you go Conqueror in the jungle as well. In terms of the rest of champions, the S+ tier, Aatrox, I'm not really too sure why they gave Aatrox a buff. I mean, the passive was a nerf. The first ability was definitely a buff, especially if you can hit champions on your sweet spot, which is a lot easier to do in the Baron Lane because every time someone walks up to try and hit a minion, you just hit them in the sweet spot and you do a bunch of damage. I already had Aatrox in the S+ tier. He stays, of course, in the S+ tier with this buff as well. Very strong champion. Honestly, one of my picks for this patch. If you want to try and play Baron Lane, if you want a champion that has crazy 1v9 potential, crazy carry potential, but also a lot of survivability as well. Not even mentioning 6.2 just around the corner with Gore Drinker being added into the game. Aatrox is going to be very scary in the next patch. Other champions, Wukong, Gnar, Rumble, and Jax all stay up in the S+ tier. I think all these champions still benefit you so much. They all give you different stances along the game and they all give you different benefits as well. Rumble being the AP burst champion, Wukong and Jax, Wukong being the early game champion that does a crazy amount of damage, Gnar still having really good ultimates, being able to carry a fight with just the ultimate and having that range advantage in the early game. And then Jax, again, another AP-ish champion, I guess you could say, with a lot of split push and a lot of carry potential. So all these S+ champions have pretty much stayed the same. Camille did receive a buff. I do think the buff is actually quite nice. I normally default to Camille if some of the other champions that I don't really play in the Baron Lane get banned away. I normally default back to Camille because Camille is just a very easy champion to pull off. Her ultimate is one of the best in the game with Hextech Ultimatum. Now with her base AD going buff, her early game gets a lot stronger and she gets more healing now from her second ability if you hit them on the outer edge. She does still struggle against some of these other champions, with trading during the early game. Rumble, Gnar, Wukong, Ambessa, every single champion in the S+ tier basically outtrades her in the early game, especially if she doesn't have her passive. But I think the buffs to Camille definitely in the right direction. I don't think that they've warranted her to go up into the S+ tier because all these other champions, in my opinion, the S+ tier beat her, but it's nice to see that she gets a little bit of an extra buff. Rest of the S tier champions pretty much stayed the same. All of these are still very strong. Warwick obviously still very strong in the Baron lane. Probably one of the most underrated champions at the moment is Warwick. Fiora as well, also very strong. Volley Bear, Garen with the spin to win is going to be really strong. And then Ornn or Shen if you want to play a more tanky style. Moving down onto the A tier, Nasus has been moved down from the S tier down to the A tier. We're getting to that stage now where Nasus was very strong for quite some time, and now he's been nerfed a few times, and a lot of these other champions are getting buffed, which means Nasus is slowly moving down and down the tier list again, because Nasus is a champion that needs stacks, needs the scaling, but again, the early game is very weak, and when you're coming up against someone like Ambessa that can dive you, Aatrox can dive you, Wukong as well, Gnar, Rumble, all these champions that could dive you in the early game with the aggressive junglers that are currently in the meta as well. Playing the Nasus and trying to farm in the early game just got a whole lot tougher. So I have moved him down to the A tier. A tier is still, you know, strong champions. The A tier is still like, A tier I would say is like the average for champions. And everyone in the A tier you can still play, but it does, you know, for me, Nasus is not like S tier on top of all these other champions. I still think he's strong, but he's just not as strong as the S tier champions. Everything else in the A tier, as far as I can see, has also not been changed. There's only Maokai that's moved down to B tier. I'm pretty sure Maokai, the only role you can play Maokai right now is support. Even Baron lane now, he struggles in the early game to try and trade, even with his passive, with his healing. Yeah, Maokai is just not very good at the moment. But everyone else in the A tier still stayed the same. Again, A tier is kind of the staple of the tier list. And then you have S tier and also S plus tier. B tier as well, still some other, you know, still some weak champions in here. Pantheon, Vladimir does a lot better in the mid lane because you don't get poked out, you don't get damaged as much, and you might not get towered over in the mid lane. Urgot as well, Sion and Malphite just don't really, you know, fit their job as a tank. Maybe next patch with Hullbreaker being added back into the game, Sion might be viable again. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, overall, Baron lane hasn't changed too much. Like I said, the big changes are definitely to the Ambessa Rework and the S plus and the S tier. You got a sneak peek of the jungle already, but Nocturne and Amumu have both moved down, and Ambessa is now the queen of the jungle. They tried to limit her damage a little bit on her first ability with the percentage health damage, but honestly, that just didn't do enough. Her jungle clear speed is actually quicker than what it was before, and Ambessa Rework is just absolutely disgusting right now. S-Boss tier champion doesn't even come close to any other champions at the moment. Amumu obviously getting a nerf as well, has moved him down into S tier. I already mentioned Amumu is a lot more of a low elo champion. He will still be very good in low elos, you know, that's why he stays in the S tier. But once you reach the higher elos, like maybe Grandmaster, Challenger, and Sovereign, then you might find it a little bit more difficult, and also especially in solo queue. Same with Nocturne as well. I still think the champion is very strong and you have great snowball potential, but again, more of a low elo stomping champion that, you know, players don't really understand how to play against Nocturne, and they don't respect Nocturne, so you can just ulti lanes every single time and it's very easy to gank and get ahead. But again, high elos, people will respect you a lot more, and you won't be able to pull off maybe as many ganks as before as well. As I mentioned, Warwick, I think one of the most underrated champions at the moment. I've been playing quite a few games on him. I might try and do a video. I'm very weird with videos at the moment because 6.2 PBE kind of got updated, so I want to do more 6.2 content, but also I want to make sure that I still do content on this patch so that you all know what champions to play. That's why I'm still doing this tier list, but I want to do 6.2 content because I'm very excited about that. That's coming out in just about a week and a half time, so very difficult to think about like what videos I kind of want to do at the moment. But obviously tier lists is always going to be a video that I release every patch, just so you get an understanding of the meta. Even if I don't release other videos on this patch, then at least you have an overall understanding of how strong some champions are. Viego buff honestly doesn't really do too much. It's just the healing you get when you take someone's soul with your passive, and the ultimate damage, just a little bit more missing health damage. Buff didn't really do too much. Viego is pretty much still in the same spot. That's why he's still in the S tier. Still a great champion to play. Still a very fun champion to play. Again, the buff just didn't really do that much to him at all. Aatrox buff actually kind of hurt him a little bit more, I would say, in the jungle than the Baron lane, because the maximum health damage that you get from your passive is now not as high. So you're going to be doing a little bit less damage to jungle camps. And also it's very difficult to hit jungle camps in your sweet spot, because you normally want to use an ability auto attack, use an ability auto attack. And with this, it's very difficult to actually hit an enemy, a jungle camp, sorry, in the sweet spot. So you're actually going to be doing relatively less damage in the jungle. So that's why he hasn't been moved up to S plus tier, and he still sticks in the S tier. Still a great jungler to play though, nonetheless. That's pretty much it in the S tier. A few supportive champions still in the S tier as well, like Vi and Nunu, more of these supportive champions. But most of the time what you can see, and also Ramesh you could put up there as well, but most of the time what you see in jungle tier lists is a lot of carry champions in the S tier. A lot of these champions that can dive in, do a bunch of damage, carry your team, and you know, have that crazy 1v9 potential. So that's pretty much all there is in the S tier. A tier, Kayn buff. I don't really know how it's really got. I haven't played against the Kayn, or I haven't played with Kayn since the buff. They buffed his shadow form, if I'm not mistaken, and also buffed his second ability. His second ability buff is quite nice for his jungle clear. I might have to try his jungle clear again to see what it's like now with that buff to his second ability. Overall, Kayn just kind of struggles at the moment. Maybe that might change in 6.2 with Dustblade. We'll have to wait and see. I did also move Zed down as well. Zed, in my opinion, is just way too difficult to pull off. I think, again, if you know how to play the champion, you know the limits of the champion, then it can still work. That's why it's still in A tier. It's still a champion that is strong. But again, not as easy to execute as some of the S tier champions. You know, you compare Zed to someone like Warwick, right? Warwick, you just use your ultimate, pressure ultimate somewhere, auto attack, and you stun them for like 3 seconds and pretty much one-shot them. Zed, you have to ulti in, you have to W to get an extra clone, you have to E, you have to use your Q, you have to go back to your clone, ulti back, go forward again, try and do a bunch of damage, try and execute someone, then you have to live, then you have to shadow away, use your E again to slow them. There's just so much going on with Zed, and yeah, he's still a good champion to play, still does a lot of damage, and his buffs were very nice. Happened a few patches ago, if I'm not mistaken, but just one of them champions that is pretty hard to execute, in my opinion, and still needs kind of a bit of time to scale up and do a bunch of damage. And then we have the Camille buff as well, the Camille jungle buff. I'm looking at this screen because it's like my notes of my changes, because I'd probably forget if I didn't put notes down. Camille buff in the jungle honestly didn't do too much in my opinion. All it is the second ability do more damage. You do max the second ability when you're playing jungle Camille, so your jungle clear speed might be a little bit more, but her jungle clear speed is still pretty slow. She's still viable. You can still play her in the jungle if you want to, if you feel more comfortable playing Camille. Her ganking can still be good, but it's just her jungle clear speed and just the way she gets around the map is just, in my opinion, a lot more difficult than some other champions. Nara have also moved down from A to B tier as well. Nara's just been slowly falling out the meta as a jungler. With all the nerfs that's been happening with the jungle, and especially with the passive over and over again, he's slowly falling down the tier list. Again, B tier is more of the champions that are better in other lanes, like Yone, Gnar, Darius, Camille, Irelia, you know, all these champions that are just good in better in other lanes, Jax as well, but they have viable potential in the jungle. And as I mentioned already with Maokai, still the worst champion in the jungle, and is a lot better in the support role. Mid lane, Castin buffs, very, very scary. I've played against the Castin a few times, and honestly, the mobility of this champion now is really disgusting. I haven't tried him out yet. I do need to give him a try to see what he feels like when you actually play him, but I played against him a few times, and as an AD carry main, very scary buff. I don't think that any champion deserves to be in the S plus tier still, though. If I was to pick a champion now, or pick maybe 2 or 3 champions, I'd probably pick Ahri, Kassadin, and maybe someone like Orianna. I would say these 3 champions are probably the best in the S tier right now, but I still think that there are so many mid lane champions to play with so many different play styles that you can pull off. You know, you have these assassin styles with champions like Ahri and Kassadin. You have the more mage styles, more sit back mage styles that scale with Victor, Syndra, and Ryze. Or you have the more playmaking style champions, where you have champions like Zoe, Annie, or even someone like Swain and Heimerdinger as well, that have a completely different play style. So many different play styles to play in the mid lane. Like I said, if I was to pick 3 of the best right now, it'd probably be Orianna, and Kassadin, but I still don't think they deserve to be in like the S plus tier, you know, the best champions in mid lane, because I still think that any of these S tier champions you can play and still pull off and still get victories. I think that's pretty much everything with the S tier. Oh yeah, the Swain did get nerf as well. The nerf is actually not as bad as what I thought it would be. I saw the numbers and I was like, whoa, but it's actually not the nerf that I was thinking of with the first ability. You still spam this ability a lot. You still do a bunch of damage. You still actually get the bonus isolated damage. I thought that's what it was before in the patch notes. I thought it was the isolated damage that was going down, but it wasn't. It was just the general damage of the first ability. But the champion still has crazy carry potential. So yeah, Swain stays in the mid lane. Stays in the S tier, sorry, in the mid lane. Moving down to A tier, I actually don't think there's any other changes with the mid lane tier list this time around. Twisted Fate somehow received a nerf. I don't know why. Champion still works fine, still an A tier champion. Don't know why he received a nerf on his ultimate, maybe just to stop the amount of roaming potential that Twisted Fate may offer, but not too sure there because I don't think he was very strong at all. I think his burst damage is actually way off. Maybe Twisted Fate AD might be a thing next patch. Of course, like Twisted Fate, AD Twisted Fate was the thing quite a while back now. I remember, like, you know, crit Twisted Fate being a thing with Magnetic Blaster, but obviously with the rework that happened to Magnetic Blaster, maybe it might come back. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, in general, A tier champions, still viable champions, still good champions and strong champions that you can play. Lissandra, I still think pops off as an assassin. Akali's still very strong assassin as well. You can maybe even try Conqueror now with assassin, since with Akali, sorry, since she now gains more ability power with Conqueror because of the buff, which is quite nice. Vladimir is still one of the scariest champions of 3 items, and you still have the Yone Yasuo brothers in the mid lane. B tier, again, champions that are just very weak right now, and C tier as well. I've moved a couple of champions down to C tier in mid lane, Talon and Seraphine. Both these champions you just want to ignore in the mid lane. Talon just because he has no way of jumping onto enemy champions and really struggles against all these mages. And Seraphine, the nerfs that have happened to Seraphine is obviously more to hit Seraphine support with the shielding, but also it hurt a lot with Seraphine mid lane. Seraphine mid lane, very, very difficult to pull off right now just because her shielding is not that high, so her trading potential becomes much lower. Dual lane, nothing has changed in the dual lane. I mean, Kalista, what were they thinking with Kalista? Like, this is, it's like one of the dumbest things I think they've ever done with a champion. They said in the patch notes, they were like, okay, base AD going up, AD per level going up, Q's being buffed, E's being buffed, ultimate's being buffed. Great. I look at these patch notes, I'm like, oh, Kalista might be playable. Let's give her a try. I played her a few times on stream and I was like, wait, the champion doesn't even feel stronger. What's going on? I then check her base AD in game and I'm like, oh, there's no base AD buff. What's happening? I think her AD per level might have been buffed, but I'm not too sure. It's very hard to test that in game. Her Q, her E, her ultimate all got buffed. Where's her base AD buff? She is still terrible. Like, I just don't think the champion is very good right now. A lot of you might disagree with me, and a lot of you might think that the buffs were enough, but I honestly don't think they were. I don't think the buffs were enough at all. She still struggles to outrange any champion in the dual lane. She struggles to auto attack. She loses pretty much every single trade as well. She gets outrange. She gets out damage. She has one of the lowest ADs of any other AD carry in the meta right now. And yeah, she's just awful to play right now. I don't like playing her at all. She's a fun champion to play. I loved her on release when she was very strong, but now she's just absolutely terrible. I hate playing her at the moment, and yeah, she just does 0 damage. So yeah, that's my little rant about Riot not either not updating the patch notes or either not updating her in game correctly. I don't know what is what, to be fair. I don't know what it was. Corki's still the best champion AD carry role. Nerfs that came in a couple of patches ago were nice. Lowers his win rate by a bit, but still the strongest champion to play. Easy scaling, easy damage. Yeah, gonna still be a great champion to play. S tier as well. Again, same champions here: Miss Fortune, Ezreal, Severe, Varus, and Xayah. A tier as well. Again, the same champions here. Nothing really changing. And B tier as well. Nothing's really changed with the AD carry, but with 6.2, with so many things changing with AD carries and items and everything as well, I think it's going to be very interesting to see where the meta is going to shift with AD carries. I think Varus is going to be very strong next patch. I think Zeri, with the rework that she's getting, is going to be one of the best AD carries to play in patch 6.2. Jhin is going to be very powerful as well. Corki is still going to be powerful because now you don't need to buy Trinity Force. You can build Manimune into Essence Reaver and have a crazy amount of crit damage plus the Sheen passive, which is actually the old Solari passive on Essence Reaver. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see where the direction is going to go with AD carries and to see what's going to be happening with them once 6.2 comes out. And lastly, moving on to the support role, after 3 patches in a row of Zilean being, actually no, 2 patches in a row and a hotfix nerf, Zilean has finally moved out of S+ tier. I still think Zilean is a great champion to play. Don't think that I've moved him from S+ tier to S tier, that you should just avoid this champion. I just don't think he has that perma win, like insta win, when you pick Zilean now. I still think he's great. I still think the movement speed that he offers, the utility that he offers, the ultimate mechanic as well, being able to revive or give an ally a free guardian angel, is still very powerful, but he's just not an insta win like he was before. Still very strong champion, still does a lot of damage as well at the same time. Pyke I've also moved up from A tier up to S tier. Pyke as this carry champion is just very powerful. If you're playing solo queue and if you need a champion that you want to carry on, you don't want to play tanks anymore, you don't want to play enchanters, you're done with these sort of champions and you're done with trying to help your AD carry, just play Pyke. Roam around the map, play Pyke, use your mobility to your advantage and use your damage to your advantage as well. Pyke very strong at the moment in the current meta. Still the same champions though in the S tier. Champions like Lulu, Seraphine, Soraka if you want more of an enchanter style, and tanks as well with Ornn, Nautilus, Maokai. So there's still a lot of champions that you can play in the support role. Senna still stays down in B tier. The buff was enough. I still don't think Senna is that good. Senna might be very strong though next patch with the buff to Magnetic Blaster. I think Senna might be a little bit stronger and also do a bit more damage. We'll have to wait and see. The problem with Senna is just she's a utility support at the moment. She builds Iceborne, Serpent's Fang, Frozen Heart, and she just plays utility. But I think with the next patch with Magnetic Blaster being buffed and with that item given AD, maybe you can go for a more crit carry style for Senna. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, A tier hasn't changed as well. All the champions stay there. But yeah, there you go. There's a quick rundown of patch 6.1F. As I mentioned, I'll try and get more videos out for this patch, but my mindset at the moment is all about trying to update the website and trying to get all of these champion builds done for patch 6.2, because I have a lot of champions to go through. I already have a Aurora build that you can take a look at as well. This might change, but this is just like a basic of what Aurora is going to look like, and also her ability order and everything as well. So I'm already preparing myself for Aurora when she releases and everything as well. So a lot to go through for patch 6.2. And of course, as I mentioned, there's only 10 days left until patch 6.2. So a lot to go through with such a short amount of time. But hopefully you enjoyed this video anyway. Hopefully you enjoyed the rundown of the tier list. If you did, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.